Hello and welcome to episode 302 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, the place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. I'm Vince Hunt, writer of MI666, and joining me as always are the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And the man who's a proper sneaky buyer of comics, it's Tony Esmond.
Fucking hell, I bought so many comics off eBay, I think I've fallen out with my postman this week.
What do you have the same postman every day?
Yeah, it's a regular guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he's all right. Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I suppose you do order so much from eBay. You must be on first name terms.
Yeah, I'm a bit ashamed to talk to him. I normally try and hide because it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? You know,
well, there's the comics and graphic.
Especially when I get comics addressed to Riptide and shit like that all the time as well. You know,
I get mine turn up to Guns Butcher and Guns Vanguard and stuff like that.
That's me.
Yeah, that's me. Oh dear!
You must think you're Spanish, Vince, because I send it to Vincenzo.
I know,
or Italian rather.
Yeah, I know. That's how I know it's you. But yes, welcome, folks, to another episode of the ACP. We've got a little interview for you that's a little bit different, and a little bit special this week. But yeah, and I
haven't done it yet, so we're not sure it's there. But hopefully,
don't you get kicked out of the magic circle if you talk like that, Tony. People don't know. People don't know that we're professional. No, we're
David Lloyd.
David Lloyd. We're a little bit.
It's not David Lloyd.
We're a little bit giggly this
joke.
week because we've just been talking for 10 minutes about amazing comics with giant beavers. What?
Yeah, coming soon.
Actually, Vince has got a bit of a pitch coming up at the end of the show.
Yeah. I'm going to pitch it.
Yeah,
to
can you pitch it later? Yeah, do that. I'd like to hear that.
Okay. Yeah. So there's so much to look forward to.
I've just sent you a picture of it, actually.
Oh, what of your
pitch?
Oh yeah, look at that, right in the face. Anyway,
he'll win.
We're just happy to be talking about comics again and give you another week's entertainment full of comic talk and lots of interesting stuff to talk about and some fantastic recommendations at the end of this week's show. But do you know what we recommend every week and we just can't get enough of?
Comic House.
Yes, our lovely sponsor.
I was going to say Fake Taxi.
They don't sponsor us yet.
Yeah, one day. We'll never leave you, Pete. We'll never leave Pete.
No.
But yes, Comic House are our sponsor. They are an indie comic marketplace that we love. They are UK based, but they love comics from all over the world. And more importantly, they love independent and small press comics. If you go on comichouse.com, there's a huge selection of titles on the database. And if you self-publish, then you can list your book on there and start selling straight away. It's another basic avenue, another way to sort of sell your books. If you've got boxes of them, that are probably going to fall on top of you one day. But, conventions will come back, so you'll be able to shift some of those boxes soon.
Well, hopefully this year.
They will
selling comics at conventions, yeah.
They will be back one day. Hey, we don't know when someone will listen to this.
Yeah. They'll probably get to the convention. We're like, yes, finally we get to sell comics. And they'll go, you're not allowed to hand anything physical over to the customers.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, yeah, that's brilliant.
That's how this works.
It'll be like that. But if you have that problem, you should still check out Comic House because they also have an amazing app that's filled with indie comics being added to all the time. Lots of books that we've talked about and more. What's on there at the moment, Dan?
We've got Brute, the toughest teddy bear in the galaxy. Cthulhu Invades Oz, Volume 1. Transgenesis, Volume 1, Issue 1. Tomb Stomping Connors, Volume 1. That looks great. And Blood Brothers, Issue 0. And many, many more.
Nice. So get on there. Check out all of those books and more. There's a 14-day free trial. You can dive headfirst into this amazing work that we talk about every week. And discover. You never know. You might see some comics by some people that we've talked about on this very show.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Most likely will. Yeah.
So check out comichouse.com today.
There's comics by all the hosts on there, isn't there? All three of us have work on there.
Yeah.
That's a great version of the advert. That I think with that advert we could just almost like record that and put it out every week because it was so slick.
Yeah.
Easy money, T.
If people only knew. The problem is the problem with scripts is sometimes you want to deviate from them just to spice things up a bit. Yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you'll forget what you're talking about.
I think you should share the script with us so we can adjust. Do it in one of those sort of live document apps, and we can adjust it for you as it's coming up.
No, because as I'm reading it, I don't want rude words to appear in my script.
Yeah. You can list your balls for a small price.
So for only £3 a month,
Release an NFT version of my balls. I don't know how that works.
Non-fungible. I don't know what fungi means. It sounds dirty.
Oh dear. Speaking of dirty, though, all that dirty paper, Tony. Let's get back to the comic buying issue, right? How many comics do you buy on eBay a week? Because I've noticed over the past, obviously with the global bastards and all of that, your eBay buying has increased.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah,
big time. It depends, mate. This week was a bumper crop, and it's not always off eBay. I mean, these the back issues that I showed you a minute ago, the big pile of them, was sent to me by Strange Apparitions. So he's got
nice.
So I bought them off him. And some crackers. I got the filled the holes. Who on Karate Kid and a couple of DC Comics Presents and some really strange. I got do you remember Gizmo, which was kind of done by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guys? Got them.
No,
I don't. Nice.
Don't know that one. You got some of the now Terminator comics.
Yes. Yeah. Which
I can remember them in the day. They were strange.
Impulse buy, really, mate. Really, they're not. They're not brilliant. They're not the craft. But it was just a sort of curious thing. I sent you a copy of them, didn't I? A picture of them. Yeah, they're just weird. Yeah. I
can remember they were kind of going. They had a shot of the future war, and they had these people in these concentration camps, and it was like bright blue sky, the sun shining, the Terminators are there with all with long blonde mullets, wearing sunglasses, leather jackets, and jeans. I was like, did you watch Terminator 1? Do you remember any imagery from that film?
I'll tell you what else I got. I got DC Special Superheroes Battle Super Gorillas. I got some Echoes of Future Past that I didn't have. I got Rock and Roll Comics, the Rolling Stones issue. How good is that?
Nice.
Obviously a favourite of ours on the show. I filled the holes in Airboy, Skywolf, and I bought a load of Charlton comics, which we don't really see enough over here.
No.
But it's got a lot of Ditko and some other. It's Joe Staton, Mike Zeck.
The Airboy mini series thing.
No, that's the previous one. So the stuff that Eclipse Comics were doing in the 80s.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Tim Truman did some of them, and Tom Yates and a few others. It's just a bit of a random impulse buy from the list of the photograph he sent me of it all. But some great stuff. Watch this space, because I think they open on Wednesday, Strange Apparitions, and he has got
fantastic
a shit fuck load of new back issues in.
I can't wait.
Is that the Oxford Dictionary version of
that's the technical grading of it? Yeah.
Going back to that Comic Mart and getting some comics in there, really jonesing for that experience.
I reckon that'll be the first thing that opens.
The Comic Mart.
Yeah.
That'd be like the super spreader.
It will be, won't it? Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough already, disease spreading in that place, isn't it?
I honestly don't think coronavirus has got a chance in that place.
That bloke with the vest on, who just wanders around in a dirty vest.
Oh, come on, Tanya, you've got to let me come back.
But you know what? Some vests are cool, aren't they? In the summer. Yeah. But this is just like a white vest you'd buy in Marks and Spencer's that's obviously shrunk a bit because it's been washed 35 times, and there appears to be some kind of curry stain down the front of it.
Dear.
Not the best look, to be honest.
No. I mean, if you're wearing a white vest, if the building's about to be taken over by terrorists or like bank robbers or anything, there's a good chance you're going to be the one that will save the day, isn't there? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. I'd be very dubious about that bloke saving any kind of day, other than if it involved Nambler.
I think the classic black leather jacket and white vest, that's the combo you want to be working out.
Yeah, especially if you're Andrew Dice Clay in 1989. Yeah.
Is that how you're going to turn up to the next Comic Mart, Dan?
You are like him.
Really? Come on.
That's a bit harsh, Davey.
I got called Dickie Davis the other day, and that fucking it's like that grey stripe on my hair is like gained sentience because now it's getting bigger and bigger by the fucking week.
I don't want that catching on, and I don't want Daniel Dice Clay to catch on either. No.
Or Dickie Dice. That's what.
Dickie Dice Clay. Dickie Dice Clay. Here he comes to save.
So many people won't get that reference. That's why I know it won't get any legs.
With his symbiotic grey streak of
you understand computers. Get on the Photoshop thing, that program.
Yeah, it's happening. It's going to happen now. No.
What do you mean?
Oh dear. Anyway, we have a great show for you this week, folks. And yeah, speaking of like comic marts and stuff, and like buying comics on eBay, it's kind of a beautiful segue into the intro for this week's guest. Because just recently, I was going on YouTube and I watched a video about cross-gen.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Do you remember them?
Yeah.
And of course there was if you don't know them,
Great art, man. Not so great stories.
Yeah.
The art was brilliant.
Yeah. And certainly it was a tumultuous time. It's quite sad, really, how it all ended up, and how they were just sort of brought up and then kind of forgotten about, kind of thing. But yeah, it kind of made me. There was one. What was it? It's not Sigil. What was
Yes, Sigil and Forge with a collection. I liked
Scion, the one that was
That's it. Yeah.
That who was the artist on that? God, I'm forgetting.
Perez, was it?
No,
Perez was one of them.
No, it wasn't Perez.
I quite liked Route 666. Do you remember that one? That was good.
Yeah.
Which one did Turner do one of them? Michael Turner.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
No,
I got a couple of the collections. You remember they would trade? You know how they do with Dawn of X at the moment, where they put a series of, so it's issues number 1 for all the titles, issues number 2 for all the titles. They did that. They did that cross-gen, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think one was called Forge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim Chung,
man.
he drew.
Right.
That was when I first discovered Jim Chung, who's an amazing artist. Yeah, but I suddenly thought, watching this video, I suddenly thought, I wouldn't mind maybe looking for some cheap issues of that. Even though it
on eBay, baby.
It never finished, but that'd be quite interesting. But I discovered this on one of the older videos on the YouTube channel, Comics by Perch, which is fascinating.
Cool.
And and there's loads of great stuff on that.
There is, isn't there?
Yeah.
I know a lot of the listeners have been discussing his channel. I know Stuart Moraine, for example, posted a couple recently about it. Yeah.
He kind of, I think Perch, well, as we'll find out hopefully in the interview coming up, that I think we're singing from relatively similar hymn sheets.
Yeah.
You absolutely stole the punchline, my man.
A little bit of sanity is what I like to call
it. Yes. So without further ado, we managed to talk to the man himself. So here is our lovely interview, and be prepared for some proper deep comic talk. It might even be a little bit analytical and grown up.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it?
Hang on.
What?
You said grown up, I got worried.
Oh, yeah. Prepare yourself, Tony. You need to be a grown up. And let's see if he was a success there. as we... Here's our interview.
We don't know yet.
With the brilliant Perch. Okay, this week we are very pleased to be joined by the man behind the brilliant YouTube channel, Comics by Perch. It's the one and only Perch himself. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on with you.
Good to have you on, man. We've been listening for a while. Your videos always bring up a conversation in our little WhatsApp group and on the Facebook group and stuff. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
that's great to hear. That's what I hope for.
The topics you bring up are just absolutely like, oh my God, what a great talking point. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and we write it down and steal it for an episode.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we've been stealing your ideas for months now. So
good. Please do. Yes, the more the merrier. A lot of these topics are very niche, I know, but they can be interesting to talk about. So I'm glad people are enjoying it.
Oh,
good stuff, man.
Good, yeah. So, as we said, we've watched many of your videos. In fact, we've been talking for a couple of minutes, and it's surreal for us because we've been watching a few today, and now we're talking to the man, which is like a strange kind of echo. But whether it's like analysis of the comics industry, news stories of comics history, and so on, some of our listeners who might not have seen your channel yet, what is the Comics by Perch channel all about?
Well, it's certainly comic books. It's all about comics and the business and trying to, in many ways, dispel some of the myths that may be out there, trying to educate. Here's what numbers mean. Here's what some of these terms mean that people on the inside use casually, but none of us know. So what are they talking about when they say this? Try to get a lot of interviews with people, particularly from the 80s and 90s, maybe even 70s, people who kind of started a lot of the things we see today, and we can learn from them and answer a lot of questions. It's really, the topics are usually all open, but it's always about comics.
Which is why we love it. And they're always well thought out as well. This isn't, This isn't a rant.
If
there's
this
so
isn't
many,
like us, I believe is the phrase you're looking at.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff on your videos.
Yeah,
I must say.
well, you're very kind. I mean, if I'm really angry about something, I'm more likely to call up a friend or go to a bar and drink over it, not jump onto YouTube and scream into a microphone.
So you're a normal human being then?
I'm a normal human being. Yes, that's right. I mean, we all get angry about things, but I mean, I don't know. That anger would all get lost by the time I recorded it and put it in a video, put it on YouTube, and then who wants to hear me shouting anyway? That's
exactly.
I miss the days when you used to go down the pub, angry about something, smash up a random stranger with a beer glass.
Yeah, I'm
much happier.
It's like it's a reflex as well, because sometimes I find, like, whether it be, I don't know, a film or a comic, something just gets on my nerve the wrong way, and there's almost an instinct to pick up your phone and look at Twitter, and I look at the blank sort of section and just think, no, I've got better things to do with my time.
Yeah, I wish I could do that, V, mate. I've fallen into. I was looking at I watched your video today, Perch, with the giving social media too much power in comics.
Oh yeah,
You mentioned a couple of subjects, and I was like, I've done that. I've fallen into that trap. Like there's been a creator who's been a bit of an arse, and like I thought, do I really want to get books by them? And it's persuaded me off.
I'm doing that all the time at the moment.
Well, I've done it myself. I'm certainly guilty of it. But it's weird that I just think about some of these comics and I that have been classics in the past. Things like Watchmen. Alan Moore has lots of opinions and everything else. What would it have been like if Watchmen's coming out and people are able to go to his Twitter feed and see him talking about who knows what? Yeah. Would that be the focus instead of the comic? That seems all wrong.
Yeah, I think the approach is a big thing. I think if you have an opinion and you're putting it in a rational way, then it's much better than these people who just say, well, everyone's a Nazi who likes carrots. It's like that, isn't it?
It is, and it's not to say. I mean, the creators are in the trap just as much as anyone else. I mean, they shouldn't go on social media saying this stuff. It's counterproductive. But it's amazing how much of the conversation has nothing to do with the comic books, including from the creators. It's just wrong.
What worries me is like the creator be working on a title and then use that title to kind of boost their own kind of self or self-worth or the opinion they have of themselves, but at the expense of what they're working on. Do you know what I mean?
I do. It is a problem because I think you get a writer onto a book and they have something they're obsessed with, and increasingly it's not necessarily political or anything like that. It may be something stupid. Maybe it's TV show they're watching at the time, and you think that shouldn't be coming out of Captain America's mouth. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned this at the time when they put like Trump's face on Modoc. Like, was that last year or year before? And I was like, this is dated the moment you've done this.
Well, exactly.
A couple of years down the line, someone picked that up and oh God, what's this? This is really cringy. And
it's
cringy at the time. It's kind of magnified 10 times when you pick it up.
Well, we had that with the Jordan Peterson thing this week, haven't we?
The same thing,
again.
Yeah.
It doesn't age well.
No.
And I have lots of friends. I mean, I live here in the Pacific Northwest in the U.S. in the Seattle area. Plenty of this area did not vote for Trump. I'll say in general.
Yeah,
but
you and the Chaz, whatever they called it. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, we had the Chaz going on. The people who are very anti-Trump, they still don't want to see MODOK Trump. No, because even whether you like him or you hate him, you don't want to see him in a comic book as MODOK in any form. So what is?
I had enough staring at his face, mate, to be fair. I don't need to stare at his face. It's very simple.
Sure, people want to turn on the news and see him that way. They do not want to have it in the comic books. And 10 years from now, picking that up, people are it's going to be painful.
I think there is, I mean, I'll say there is space for politics and for virtue and for doing the right thing in comics, and there should always be that. I think it's just this sort of sixth form politics that gets to me. I think you call it college politics, I guess, where you're from. It's that sort of simplistic thing that gets me a bit,
No, exactly. I think there's been this argument. People say, I want my politics out of comics. The other side says, well, comics have always been political. Well, they're right. Comics always have been political, but they haven't been this shallow college level, immature politics.
Both sides of that argument are right, but there's much more a nuanced sort of area to it than that. People don't examine the minutiae of arguments anymore, do they? It just becomes this sort of polarizing comment.
Think through the political topic they're trying to actually convey. It's more just hey, let's put AOC on this character and let's do something along those lines.
We talked about that this week actually. Funny enough. Yeah.
I remember there's a Peter David book I've got on writing comics, and I think he makes an example of like there's some kind of anti like protester coming to town, and Steel and Supergirl have a fight over it, and it's the classic, oh, he's right, he's wrong, and they argue as they're fighting. But it doesn't present the reader with this is the right way, this is the wrong way. It was more of an open question, hoping the reader kind of works out for themselves or comes to some agreement. Like, but just saying you are wrong for thinking this is just not the way to do it for me, at least. I think it's
no.
Sure way.
I mean, comic readers like to be engaged. They like to think through things. They don't want to just be told what to do. You're not reading a checklist. You're reading a comic, so you want to actually see different sides. You want to have kind of these different pieces that you can turn around. But it's just sloppy writing in many ways.
And sometimes it makes for boring. Like it's quite heavy-handed to read as well. I mean, I didn't even read the words. I think when I saw a thread that was talking about the Red Skull issue and stuff, someone just posted a page of Red Skull talking. It was a recent comic
that's right. Yeah,
and I sent it to the guys just to sort of say, I don't even care what's coming out of his mouth. I will never read any of this because it's just speech bubbles. It was just like 9 panels.
Most of the art was covered up.
Yeah,
it was just block text.
I'm never going to read this.
It's just dumb. I mean, you have this character who's Captain America's arch enemy for years and years, and we're supposed to believe that he's going to be an internet blogger. I mean, forget words from it. This doesn't make any sense.
The ultimate evil in this world of all that's going on. The ultimate evil is a blogger. Yeah,
it's just dumb. I mean, you look at this and you go, all right, this is not something that's entertaining, and it doesn't matter which politics. He could be spouting left wing or right wing things. Of course, he is spouting right wing things, but it doesn't matter. It's still stupid.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Basically, where's the kind of the editors kind of questioning these decisions by the kind of writers, or is this the direction you want to take it in while we're doing this? I don't really understand what goes on at Marvel or DC in that regard. It seems to be a bit of all over the place.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of editorial, and I'm not saying that we haven't had young editors before, because I used to, look how old some of them were when they joined Marvel, in the 70s even. Yeah. But there seems to be a bit more gravitas, of some of the, Louise Simonson and, these sort of, Paul Levitz and Len Wein, they had something about them, didn't they?
They did. I recently did an interview. It's a very long one, but it's with Jim Salicrup. Who
Loved that, man. Loved Jim Salicrup. Yeah, that was a great interview. Yeah, really good.
It was amazing. I mean, he starts very, very young, but he talks in it about, at the beginning, he's running off to get Stan Lee's toupee. He's having
story.
A lot of work. But he was never left on his own. I mean, there was a senior editor and there's an editor in chief, and all up and down, there was a lot of quality control going on. But he also noticed, and he didn't we didn't get too deep into it, but editors had a couple books. They didn't have 10, 12 titles that they're juggling. And today there's fewer editors doing more with less oversight and no training, and that's a bad combo.
Yeah. And there was that period at Marvel, wasn't there, for a while, where the editors were expected to write a book as well, wasn't there?
Yes,
and
definitely.
That seemed like a strange tipping point to me, almost. There was a dynamic in the power there that was unbalanced for a bit, I think, as well. Yeah.
It was. It definitely was. And the other thing that we've shifted to that I think is one of the core problems in the industry right now is that nothing is being given any kind of long-term commitment. I talked to Jeff Thorne on Friday. He's doing the new Green Lantern book, but they've really only commissioned him for 6 months.
Right.
He's hoping for more, but they tell him, we want a giant space odyssey, huge things, massive storylines, big potential. We're going to launch this comic, and we'll see if we renew you after 6 months. It's like,
yes. We all had great hopes for Hickman, and loving his interpretation of the X-Men and hoping this is going to be the status quo for a long time.
He had a sort of track record, with what he did with Fantastic Four, and what he did with the Avengers and things like that. This long form storytelling.
And we spent a couple of episodes talking about Hoxpox and all that sort of thing, and then suddenly I hear this week that he's off the X-Men. I'm like, no, do not reboot this now. And as much as I like Jerry Duggan, I think he's a good writer. It's just I just wanted him to be on forever, which I suppose is unreasonable, but more than maybe 3 years, and that seems like a long time at the moment.
We're not even 2 years into his run. I mean, it's
right. Okay,
he came in 2019 in the summer. it's crazy. I think that's a major problem. And I mean, you take a look at the X-Men titles. They've got a lot of them. They're relaunching and launching a bunch of them. But I know, all the creators there, they don't have any window past 4 to 6 months.
Right.
Yeah. Man, that sucks.
And they're all doing what they can. That's the thing.
Sure.
Is everyone's, if you get given an X title, that's a dream, isn't it? Really, you're going to try.
Yeah.
You want, and some of them are probably thinking, I'm going to just say you get an Excalibur book. Oh, I've got a 12-issue arc in my head. Will I make it past 4?
Yeah.
That's not a real. It's not a productive way to work, is it? When
It's pretty much sales dependent, isn't it?
Yeah.
From what I can gain from your videos, Perch, is like as soon as if they get a bit of a wobble, it's like they just pull it. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a few pieces, but yeah, definitely with the sales is any kind of threshold that they cross under, or if they believe that they can relaunch it and triple the numbers for a period of time, or whatever it happens to be. It's a game of very short-term planning. And you're not going to, and simultaneously, if you're a writer, you're a creator working under that condition, any really amazing ideas you're going to save for a Kickstarter or something on your own.
Or an image.
So,
Yeah.
It's bad both directions.
It's certainly the numbers are like, certainly when I was first introduced to your channel, like it was a real sort of eye opener, because if you believe the social media, or if you sort of follow the trends, or if you grew up with the Marvel and DC, you always think that those two are outselling everything. They're the big two. There's no such thing as a big two anymore, I don't think.
No,
but
no.
and certainly when you're discussing, well, in actual fact, this book is only selling this much. It's a real eye opener.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the internet, and whether it be journalism, articles, or social media, you would think that these books are gangbusters, all of them.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case, is it?
No, definitely not. I mean, the marketing engine is in place, and they want to shape the story a certain way, and I get companies would want to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got a lot of. I mean, we've talked about Walking Dead in the past, and kind of that was obviously a successful title and everything else. But there's a book that started off very small, which I don't think people realized. It started off, under 10,000, I believe, and then it grew to be over 100,000 consistently of a seller, and that's extremely rare. But it also it paints a very clear roadmap for any comic publisher. Here's how you achieve this. Just keep a creative team on a book for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Let them do what they're going to do. You'll have successful results.
But there's not enough of that, is there? There's like Ultimate Spider-Man. I always think is another great example of that. Just keep people would just keep coming back. Yeah.
Absolutely. Long runs definitely help better, even if the creators are not necessarily the people you like or the best. People like consistency. That's proven.
The one that really opened my eyes when I watched the Captain Marvel video you did, the sales, and I thought, because I've literally seen it all over social media, people talking about this character must be doing very well sales wise, and then you did the video and I was absolutely so underwhelmed. I was like, really? This is the character they're kind of saying is doing so well, and everyone really loves it and it's really popular, and it's not selling really. It's really low.
No, it is. It's a very low selling title. It's on the bottom half of their books. But the other problem is they've rebooted it like 6 times.
Yeah. I mean, twice in 1 year, I think I saw a first issue at one point.
That's death, isn't it? That's death to any title getting restarted twice.
It is. It pops numbers for that first issue. They do a lot of variants. They do incentive programs. They do a lot of things to try and boost up that number one. And I think if you're penciling it out for the year, your average goes up because of that number one. But every single time they relaunch, the number 2, number 3 issues would fall faster each time.
Right. Okay.
You're just eating your audience down.
I almost feel like they're financing a short run on a first issue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It feels a little bit like that. I know they do have variants, and they go in loot crates and all sorts of things, don't they? But from your videos, you can see some of them have an absolutely extraordinary first issue. But I think Black Panther was the last one I watched, which was hundreds of thousands of issues, wasn't it, on the first issue? Yeah.
Well over 200,000. Today is selling down around 10,000.
Right, such a shame, isn't it? Yeah, what are they doing wrong then, dude? What do you think? If you were a gambling man, I know you have some access into the business. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that creative team aspect of it. It is also, I think there's this misunderstanding. Comic publishers, they want a new audience. They want to get new readers, and they're right to think that. The readers are aging. You want new people in. But the problem is they're selling the comics into the same place. They're going to the comic shop that has a clientele of those older readers, so they can say as much as they want. I want to sell this book to teenage girls or to this graphic, whatever happens to be. But unless they're going to go to the comic shop, you're not going to find that audience. You've got to get those comics to where those people are, and if you're not doing that, then you're wasting your time. So by doing this, I think they're increasingly isolating the audience they do have. And the other factor is, comic collectors are collectors. They like long runs. So if and a lot of people will continue buying a comic even after they hate it, just because they don't want to break up their run. They want to have that.
I feel your pain.
Tony.
Yeah, we're all like,
That's Tony.
So if you're a publisher, don't help them break the habit by rebooting your comic. All you're doing is telling people, hey, if you hated this comic for a while and you want to end your run, we're going to end it for you and reboot it. Collectors will look at that as a jumping off point and say, oh, thank God, that my run is complete. I can walk away from it now. And they don't.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been saying jumping off point for a while, man. And here's an old bloke example of that is I have a book that I write all my comics in. And it's terribly old. I don't really understand computers, but it gets to like, what volume of Ghost Rider is this? It's like that.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And I think if you look at these reboots, they fall faster. I mean, part of the reason is people are just not up for the new team, or they've been wanting to get off the book for a while. And the publishers say, well, congratulations, now's your day. We're gonna cancel it and relaunch it, and then you don't have to come back. And we saw that happen with Miss Marvel, which was a very curious title because it launched. There was a little bit of,
it did quite well to start with, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, the first volume did great, actually, for what it was as a new character.
Not a bad book either. It was all right. Very readable. Yeah.
And then they hit Secret Wars, and they decided, let's relaunch it. And when they relaunched it, they lost 20% of their audience. And they continued to lose it. And then they relaunched it a third time, and it lost another 25%. And now it's one of the lower selling, it's been canceled again, but it was one of the lowest selling books.
Show public who are not comic collectors, which is, a smaller and smaller circle of people, do not understand a reboot.
No.
They
just don't.
The thing is, we're going to see when that character obviously hits the multimedia zeitgeist, as it is happening.
Inevitable, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a bump in the sales, but it'll be volume 1. It'll be it'll be the first book of how she came to be. It won't be. Right. It won't be I need to buy all of the issues. I need to buy the new one. I don't think it's not going to translate to whatever Marvel are currently doing with that character. It's always that when you see something, in a film, it's always, I'd like to buy the first appearance. Right. Let's start at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Marvel and DC are terrible about helping people do that. And this is normal for behavior. It's like I watched the movie. Take the WandaVision comes out. People are like, I would like to go buy the Scarlet Witch, WandaVision comic, whatever that looks like. Well, you can't. It's not in print. They have, they have a couple Scarlet Witch volumes, but it has nothing to do with the show. And all of those things. Now they're doing Captain America: Winter Soldier. Again, the run that where Captain America gives up the shield, introduces John Walker. A lot of the stuff that is about the show is not in print.
So has it been out in Epic yet? Epic collection yet? Is it?
Yes, it has in the past, and it then went out of print. And Marvel is going to get this trade out in, I believe, August. So here you go.
I'm not sure digitally how that.
That's my great conspiracy theory, isn't it?
There's sometimes more on top of it with digital. I mean, I know you've got the Marvel app as well, but certainly when it comes to whatever's on the grander, TV screens or whatever, you will always see. I log on to Comixology on a Wednesday, and it's like, it's the Marvel sale, front and center.
And they do it on the Marvel app as well, so you have a little section that's Scarlet Witch, and
they seem to be definitely more focused on marketing.
Do you think they're pushing us that way? Do you think? What do you
think? I think, I for a long time I thought so. I thought this is this kind of engineering and steering here, but increasingly I've come to the conclusion it's just stupidity. It's just it's
what's that thing Grant Morrison says about conspiracy theories? He says nobody's got enough time. They don't.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy to do these digital these digital sales and indexing, and I believe the Comixology ones are done by Amazon employees, actually not Marvel employees, and.
Yeah, we've got an agent for a Comixology, and it's a single person. You just go through them. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'd love to believe I'd be happier if it was a strategy, but I think with some of these books, you just have to put them back into print. You don't have to collect them anything. You don't have to do almost any work. It's very simple.
Yeah. Plus the lead time they've got on some of these shows, they must know for like 18
Christ,
months.
right.
Yeah.
Where's the Loki? What's happening to the Loki back issues? And that's next, isn't it? And then Hawkeye. And
We mentioned this before, like when the Avengers film was out, or Thor, and you went to the comics and it had Jane Foster as Thor, and people were like, "Well, what's this? What's going on here?" And it's like you should have been. All these characters should have been lined up that they could have come straight out of the cinema, walked around to the corner to the comic shop. Oh, there's Captain America. That's we've just seen. We can buy this.
The question is, Dan, when the next Thor movie comes out, will they have the Jane Foster Thor trades available?
Yeah.
Almost certainly not. I mean, I hope so. I really do.
Yeah.
That is, I run a store, about to relaunch a store, and it's aggravating. People, it is absolutely true that people do come in from the movies and say, I just watched Black Panther. What have you got? And they like you said, they want to start with number one. And this is where manga is doing a much better job. They always have the first volume out and available and ready. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
What do you think the change is going to be around PRH? Do you think that's? I mean, we use them here, but what do you think?
I think it should be positive. I mean, they're definitely going to push beyond the traditional direct market, and that's healthy. We need comic publishers. They're also, and I'm curious how the relationship will work with Marvel, because they're a bigger player, but they're extremely stringent about meeting deadlines, and they've been very harsh, I think, against titles that slip and don't come in. So I'm curious if that discipline helps.
Okay. Yeah, we distribute to bookshops and to the States through PRH from Nobrow. And they're such a big deal. People don't realise they dwarf Diamond, don't they? They're a much bigger outfit.
Yeah, it's not even in the same orbit. They're a much bigger place, and they seem committed. They really want to grow this market, and
brilliant.
I'm hoping they will.
And there's a fascinating video about it on Comics by Perch on YouTube. There's going to be plenty of links on this week's show notes.
that harks back to the getting the product in front of the people that they're aiming to go for.
Yes.
We have a terrible problem over here with like the shops not selling comics as you would think of them. They were like magazines with toy plastic crap on the covers. And where once it used to be you could go in and pick up Marvel and DC titles, it's just you just can't do it anymore.
It's a funny history over here, Perch, because we used to have basically shop distribution for comics, and same as you had newsstand distribution, we had something called news agents, like little sweet shops that sell newspapers and stuff, and they used to be in every shop. And then direct market ruined that, and then they were in direct market shops. And of course, there's so few of them in the country now. It's such a small market. I mean, Diamond, I don't think we make it for a while. The only reason they imported DC imported comics to the UK was because of Vertigo. Because we bought so many Vertigo titles because there's so many UK creators, and I think it wouldn't hurt Diamond just say no to UK distribution. We
definitely need to get to some form of the newsstand back for yourselves. That's the only way to get new readers in. There are comics being produced that I think would land really well with kids or with young adults, but they're not going to go to a comic store. You need to get them to a grocery store or to a department store of some kind. Yeah,
that's right. We're weird over here because we have weekly comics was our thing. We still have 2000 AD, obviously, which you're aware of.
Oh, absolutely.
Weekly comics were a big thing through the 70s and 80s. Well, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And girls' weekly comics sold as much as boys' weekly comics in the hundreds of thousands. So,
weekly.
Weekly.
I think also the issue now is even those weeklies, the price of them each week is, sometimes you're better off waiting for a monthly magazine than the price of a weekly book. Sometimes that prices me out of a lot of stuff.
And we're buddies with Pat Mills, he's called the Godfather of British comics because he created 2000 AD and so many things. And he says the whole shift came when it went from readers to fandom. He noticed a huge change then. Yeah.
It did. Well, I think to have a healthy business, you need both. But we gave up the readers. We gave up the casual market, and that's where, Japan has a very robust weekly system that they do, and I think it's a fairly healthy market. But they've managed to hold on to more of that casual reader, both in price point and everything else. There's a common thing that happens in parts of Japan where you can buy, a Shonen Jump, or just you could buy something, maybe not Jump, but you can buy one of these anthologies, and then get on the train and read it, and then you get off the train and you literally watch people hand it to somebody else, somebody they
That's
don't
great,
know.
isn't it? That's so
Wow.
good.
Yeah. And it's and then there was this opportunity. Oh, should we crack down on that? These people aren't paying. It's like, no, this is just distributing the brand. It's
Yeah.
a healthy thing.
We used to have the same thing in barbershops over here. So you go and have your haircut, and on the table would be either comics or pornography. That would be the two things.
What barbershops were you going to?
Definitely need something like that here in the U.S. Yes.
Yeah. Close up brown oil Spider-Man. They're the two areas.
God.
Comfortable for that hairdresser, yes.
But back to like your show. How do you pick? Because you're putting out a lot of content.
Too much.
I got to tell you, recently I've been hard pressed to keep up, dude. You do put out, don't you? Yeah.
I record ahead of time, and then there's these windows where a lot gets piled up, and then I start to worry if I wait too long, then the whatever I'm talking about will age, and then it won't be relevant anymore. So I just start shoving them out. But I'm trying to slow down. I put out way too much.
How do you like pick what topics, or because there's such a variety of different things you talk about? But is there a method to the madness?
These are things that we talk about in the comic shop when people come in and they'd want to have conversations. I try and kind of balance between questions people are asking at the time or something that is currently topical. I have a decent amount of people inside the business, writers and artists and editors who will send mail or text me saying, "Hey, can you talk about this? I want to hear more about this." So a lot of it's question based at this point, and I just try and kind of do the rounds of what's currently going on in the industry and try and explain the news. I think a lot of news comes out that really doesn't have any context, or maybe it's a little bit misleading. Comics journalism is terrible by and large, but there's that's it. There's not really much more to it than that. I'm trying to hit at least a couple of these sales videos a week, and I've fallen behind a bit, but I try and keep a good variety.
Yeah. That's something we've talked a bit about here, and it's something I rant about constantly, Perch, is the fact that there's no decent reviews anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be...
Yeah.
It used to be everything was really terrible when the world's ending, or everything's amazing and flowers and unicorns. And now if you ever give a comic a bad review, suddenly you're the bad guy,
Yes, you are, and I think it's this problem where a lot of the comic news sites are from people who want to be in the business.
That's probably
agreed.
And so with comps, it's and I've been told this. Somebody from one of the creators from Marvel said, would you like to see the book in advance and do a review on it? I said, sure. Send it my way. And they're like, but if you're going to do a negative review, you can't post a review. And I'm like,
okay. There should be no definition of a good or a bad review. It should just be a critical review of the comic. You should be analyzing what is in the comic.
It is. And I said, I'm not going to rip up the comic or throw it into the fireplace or anything. I'm just, if I don't like it, I'll say I don't like it. I'll try and explain why, but I'm not going to, go on a bender on it. But it was like, no, we tell all the people who do I tell all the people who do reviews when we send them comps that you owe us a good review. And it's like, well, okay, I don't want to be part of that.
Nah, fuck all that.
That's paid promotion. Yeah. That's not a review.
That's promotional. Yeah, exactly. I was on the comps list for a certain British comics company, 2000 AD. And I got taken off it because I gave critical reviews.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you could. People have to have thicker skin than that. I think there's one thing, taking a comic and you're really just wanting to roast it and trash it. I get that, but in general, we can't be begging or forcing positive reviews, because you can always tell. You read these reviews online and you're like, well, this person clearly was being told.
I hate it, man. I had a conversation with someone about it, and they said they don't review comics they don't like, and I said that's rubbish, because then you don't review comics that are nothing other than absolutely perfect, because you only have absolutely brilliant things to say about it. That isn't look up what
it's not a review.
Look up what a review is. It's not a review.
It's not a review. I mean, like every week we recommend some books at the end of our show, and it's purely like, we read this, we like this, you should check it out. I mean, I don't consider it to be a review. It's more like a coffee shop.
We do discuss bits that don't work. That's the thing.
Yeah, we do.
Often. I know we call it the recommendations, but occasionally we do say, well, I'm not actually sure about that cover, whether it would be noticeable on a shelf.
Yeah.
There are
it's
points to
constructive,
discuss.
though.
Exactly.
It's always constructive.
Yeah, but thing is having a trusted voice. If I go to Tony's review site and he says, "Oh, this book's amazing," I pick up, "Oh, that's not that great." Next book I pick up, he says, "Oh, it's the best thing ever," and I was like, "Well, that's pretty crappy." At what point we're just like, "Well, don't your opinion's just way off. I can't trust yours."
There's such children out there. Recently, I said somebody reviewed a book and gave it 5 stars and said it was the best comic they'd ever read, etc. And I actually messaged the reviewer and said, "Is this the same book I read?" And the creator left Twitter.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not. I mean, you need credibility. I have Jeff Thorne. He was on my show a couple days ago. He's written the new Green Lantern. I like the issue. I thought he was doing a lot of neat things. Primarily, I like the issue because it was referencing old 80s and 90s storylines that I enjoyed from Legion, and that was cool to me. I like that. At the same time, and he's on the show, and you don't need to be critical about it, but it's like, this cover that you picked, which wasn't him, of course. It was the company, not the writer. But it's like this cover doesn't indicate anything that goes on in the issue. It's misleading. It doesn't sell the comic at all. It's just the artist's name on the digital versions are spelled wrong. Like there's some horrible problems on this cover, and it's like I'm not being cruel to the writer, but I mean you have to be able to say honest things, because if somebody goes to a shop based on your review and they pick it up and it's clearly you're just fishing for a job, that doesn't help.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of this falls on the editor as well.
Yeah,
editors aren't taking responsibility. The prime example of that is when they credited the creation of Captain America to Stan Lee a couple of years ago, and you're like, come on. Yeah. It's.
I mean, I think editorial and upper management is where I think there's a lot to answer for at this point. They're not paying the people very well at all. Yeah. That's a problem, and there's not enough of them, and there's not enough mentorship, and there's big decisions, like that, where 20 years ago there's no way that this would have passed. To talk with Jim Salicrup or there's no way that stuff would have hit print. And today it's just going out.
Incidentally, always add Jim Salicrup if you're on Facebook, because he sends you a birthday message, and it's like brilliant. It's like the dude who edited my favourite issues of Avengers sends me a happy birthday. It's like the best day ever.
I think I speak for us all. Like, we want the best comics done by the best people, regardless of who that is. Do you know what I mean? I want the most talented creators doing their best comics. I'm not. It frustrates me that people are hired on anything other than their ability to write a comic or create a comic.
Should be a meritocracy, shouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's nepotism is not quite the right word, but it's in that universe, because it's not necessarily family members, but it's if you look and you start to piece together. There's 4 creators right now and an editor who are all worked in the same comic shop in the New York area. It's it's magic. They all get to have jobs in the company together, where the editor picked all these people. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of that.
Did someone say humanoids? Sorry, I missed it.
That's another one. Very high concentration there, and in the Portland area, there's a dozen people all who magically find themselves getting jobs at roughly the same time, and it's some of them have good stories to tell, others it's clearly a bad fit.
And it's not the world's most difficult. They're not saving people in surgery. Comics writers, God bless them, I love them, but you can learn on the job, and it is something you can learn. Yeah,
it is. I think, though, that's where I think part of the problem, when you hire, like any job, when you hire your friends, when you hire somebody based off of a friendship, and then they come into the job and they're not ready, as the editor, are you going to be as clear going to them as saying, hey, this thing you're trying to do here, it doesn't work, you need to change it? Or because it's your mate, do you go, no, I'll just let it slide, but then you're putting out stuff that's substandard, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, don't be Alex Toth to Howard Chaykin in that famous story. It was Steve Rude, wasn't it? Yeah. Don't be Alex Toth, but there's a line that can be and should be taken, I think, that isn't being. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think there's certainly there's certain topics and sort of standpoints and viewpoints and stuff. There's always a place for them in comics and to tell the story right. But I think it's like you say, sometimes these writers aren't ready. They haven't got the chops to get those messages across, to get those stories across. Yeah. And another example is, I was watching a video of yours where people seem to forget that some of these messages that everyone wants in the comics have already been told in the past.
Explored.
And people, and like you said, like if it happened after, before the year 2000, it didn't happen.
Oh, I've had this. I've told you this conversation. I had it with a certain comics writer, and they were telling me all about Fall Killer, and I went, "Oh, I love the Steve Gerber's interpretation of Fall Killer," and they just stared at me, and I thought they're basically about to accuse me of bit mansplaining or the equivalent of old comic bloke splaining to them, because they just didn't know what I was talking about.
It's painful. I think and this word gatekeeping gets thrown around if you try and mention comics, but it's like, racial justice, all of these things are very important topics. Yeah. Let's not forget that in the 80s, Marvel had a black woman leading both the Avengers and the X-Men at the same time.
Man, Panther's Rage is one of my favourite series ever, and I learned a lot about my moral life through comics. Do you know what I mean? So don't pretend it's a new thing. Yeah, exactly.
There's that scene in Green Lantern, the Hard Traveling Heroes, where there's the older black guy rebukes Hal Jordan for kind of like saying, "Oh, you always like saving like these rich white people, why you're not kind of in our neighborhoods doing stuff." And he's kind of really, it takes him aback, and he questions himself. And those issues have been brought up like in the 1980s, like
70s, 60s. Yeah.
Comics have always been extremely, I would say, on the forefront of a lot of these topics. So it does irk me. That's one of the true anger bits.
Yeah.
Like, don't portray comics in the 80s and 90s as being this kind of bigoted hellhole of a landscape, because there were pretty amazing stories and moral lessons being told there, and being told frankly better. They were being told with more nuance and more lasting power,
more humanity. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. I mean, well, let's aim for a bit more of a positive spin. So what are you what do you think is actually working in comics at the moment? And have you got any examples of stuff you're reading where it's working? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's a lot there. I'll start with the one that's probably the most of a double-edged sword. Manga has figured it out in terms of its distribution. Right. They're doing a really good job marketing, packaging, putting the material out. It's a well-functioning system at this point. European comics, I think Jim Salicrup, for that matter, is got a number of things through punch cuts. That
he's doing the Smurfs or something, isn't he?
He is, but Asterix is being done through there.
Of course, nice. Is it paper cuts rather? Is it paper
cuts? Paper cuts. Sorry, that's terrible. But I know one of their priorities is more European comics, more kind of distribution. I think that's something that's really going to go well.
I think because we're so close to European comics here, geographically. Have you ever been to one, Glen, Perch? Have you or any of the European festivals? I've written a review about. We're talking about a European comic before the close of the show. I'm recommending one, and the phrase I'm going to start it with is "Pull your trousers up, America." Do you know what I mean? Your mum's calling. Because they're so, and I love American comics, and it's my life. I'm surrounded by them now. I'm sitting in a room that I probably will fall over and kill me at one point.
Yeah, it's going to kill you one day.
We're all over there.
Man, they have got some comics over there, just unbelievable.
But also the culture, much like in Japan, the comic culture's a lot different. It's taken seriously as an art form, isn't it?
It is. It never had that split. I think both in Japan and both in Europe, both regions, and South America has a good, burgeoning environment. Okay. But all three places, they view it. It's what you said earlier. There's collectors, there's readers, there's fans. They understand that there's different markets. They have to work all of them.
Yeah,
and it's a much healthier ecosystem, I think. And so I think that's going very well. Comics, and maybe it was the swallowing up of Marvel by Disney that kind of took the eye off the ball. They didn't feel that need to compete in the same way because they were, they had this guaranteed check. But that they have gone astray, and I think they're just starting to learn it's going to be a pretty painful lesson for some. Scholastic and manga, and I think what's happening with some of the European titles coming in. I mean, manga is outselling U.S. comics a lot right now in the U.S.
Yeah,
and that's going to teach some people some lessons very quickly. And I think they will recover. Now's the time.
I think so. Yeah,
some of the indies are doing good work. I think Mark Millar is definitely. I think what he has planned for the second half of the year is going to be rather huge. He's been waiting to get the Netflix deal off the table or up and going. And
I hadn't seen him tweet about it, actually. That's strange.
He's been biding his time. It's coming. Jupiter's Legacy is in May, and then there's just an onslaught behind that. I think
we like him, dude. We do like him over here. Yeah, he's positive. we're into year 4 of Mark Miller Watch because we've been trying to get him on the show.
He doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Passively tried to get him on the show.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like.
I'm hoping that this moment where the show starts rolling now, because he's a good showman. He's probably, he's the modern Stanley in a sense of he does understand marketing and he can cut that angle. So I think that's great.
And most of the time, he's positive in promotion. He's spending his time promoting his stuff rather than ripping down other people's work. That's
exactly.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
And I think he cares about comics a great deal. And so
he does. And he talks about it and he loves it. And you just got to look at his office to see the original artwork on the walls and stuff like that when he posts pictures of it. But I think one of the things we have over here, I'm not sure how it compares to your scene over there, but we have a real burgeoning movement in what we call small press over here. So it's even down the totem pole a little bit from indie, where it's mostly, comics made in kitchens. And sent through. We have a couple of maybe 3 friendly printers in the UK, and then they get sold on Kickstarter and at conventions. They don't make it into Diamond. That's a big thing over here. Yeah. It's become a huge movement, actually.
Yeah.
We see some of that here. Kickstarter and Indiegogo both. There are a lot of little projects. What's missing for us is a good distribution channel and a way to make that a little bit easier. I think all the tools are here. That people haven't started using them yet. And when they do, suddenly a bunch will copy, and they'll be a good thing. And we'll get.
You'll hear it when you'll hear it when you listen back. But we're sponsored by a platform that does small press over here. But the thing about the UK is it's such a small country, and you can fit us into Texas about 18 times or something. But it's easy to go to every convention. You'll see the same faces, and it's become that we almost had a convention every weekend before COVID.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of big ones.
And see if someone else has got their new book out like every couple of months. And
the US needs something similar. Geographically it's hard, like you mentioned, but I think we don't have quite the logistics up, but there is a lot of interest. So you have a lot of creators who are coming into this, and I think we are going to see a renaissance over the next 10 years of a lot of small press and those kinds of projects that really do quite well. And I think that'll be healthy.
I think the movement with your store, Perch, is that something you're like independent creators and stuff? Are you open to them contacting you and supplying?
Always. Yeah, always have. I would buy the books off the Kickstarter and Indiegogo sell in the store as well. That was pushing this. Everybody will know who I am by saying this, but I would push the Kickstarters to do retailer packages as well. Something where 10 at a time. Definitely.
We deal with personally the comics I might make go out through Strangers Fanzine, if you're aware of that.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we put our books out through them, and they're great for us because obviously the postage to UK and to the US the other way is just amazingly expensive at the moment. Yeah, so they almost distribute for us, and they're the hotness at the moment. Perch, they're just on fire. Them and Bubbles are putting stuff out, and it's getting snapped up straight away.
That's wonderful. No, that's what we need. Definitely.
Yeah. You should definitely reach out to Eddie if you need his email. I'll stick it into you. But yeah, he's a great guy who runs Strangers.
I should. I should. There's a number of things I should do there. But yeah,
cool,
great,
nice one.
No, I think we're in this period that I think we had a little bit of arrested development over the last couple of years because the movies were doing so well. About every 15 years or so, the comic industry changes, and we're a little bit late for that. But we're into it now for sure. And I do think what will come out the other side will be healthier. I think this will be a positive transformation. But there's going to be certainly some more layoffs and some chaos during this shift.
Where do you think the last change was the Marvel Knights 2000, 2002, that sort of area? Is that what you quote it back to? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Image changed quite a bit during that time period. Yeah. DC had some management shifts. There was just a different approach that was taken, and now we're into it again.
Cool. So, the next question is, what are you reading? What are you enjoying as a second part of that, man? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do read a lot of the indies right now. I think there's a lot of good books out there. I read a lot of, I just finished going back and rereading all of Invincible again. That's a wonderful superhero.
Us too. Yeah.
Just a great thing. I like Decorum. So there's Hickman doing something outside the universe. Really enjoying. I think I mentioned AWA earlier. Kari Andrews has this book Erratic that is wonderful. I really like that one.
Yeah, we like his. I loved his Iron Fist stuff. Yeah, really good. He's a really good artist, and he's like a film director as well, isn't he? He's made quite a lot of sort of indie horror films and stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Both him and Steve Skarosh, they're both up just north of me here in Vancouver, and they do really exciting things. Both of them visual thinkers. Skarosh doing the Matrix films and all that.
Of course.
I have been raving about Post Americana for the past 4 weeks of Scrose's work. I adore that book.
It's a great book. There was a book where it was misunderstood at the very beginning. People were saying, "Oh, it's a commentary on American politics." It is definitely not that. It is.
Yeah. Well, I think we described it as like a Full Moon Studios film with a $300 million budget. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, that's a perfect description. Yeah. That's been very good. I mean, there's good titles. I think Marvel has some things. I'm like, I think Donny Cates is trying something new with Thor, and I've been appreciating that. And
yeah, I've been enjoying that. The first few issues really took off with the whole Galactus thing, didn't it? I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
It slowed down a bit, but I think that's been pretty good. And I like to see Priest. I mean, I'm not the huge fan of U.S. Agent, that book, but I do like Priest over and Marvel doing stuff. So
Immortal Hulk's been good. I think that's a good title.
Yes, I would agree. That's been very solid. About to end.
Yes, I don't know why, but yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I liked the new Green Lantern. I like it when they dip into their history, and I hope that they can keep doing that. So there's always something out there.
Good stuff, man.
And how do you feel about the big events? That's always that's a touchy subject. Sorry, but
Well, there's too many of them. I mean, I think King in Black was a solid event. I think there's this rush to do way more tie-ins than's necessary. It doesn't need all of that, and everybody knows the game at this point. The readers know these tie-ins are not important. But the problem is they're not left to breathe. I mean, we went from a Ten of Swords into King in Black, which is going into Heroes Reborn, and an event. Spider-Man's had multiple events during this period, and we're going to have another one. We got Absolute Carnage announced, or Extreme Carnage announced coming up here. It's just we have the Hellfire Gala coming out with X-Men, and then in the early fall we're going to have another X-Men event that will cross over all the books. And it's like, I mean, you can't keep up with that as a reader, and they don't. The power of events needs to be that they have a lasting impact. People talk about Secret Wars today, the one from the 80s. Yeah. And if I was to put a gun to somebody's head and say, "Tell me the key things that happened during Empire," I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and I read it, and I can't remember.
Yeah. That's it can't be that forgettable. Less than a year away.
The villain's plant. Yeah. I vaguely remember that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Hilda Glance from something happened with She-Hulk, and it was fine at the end. Yeah. That's the problem with the events, is they don't stick. And I think Donny Cates has been building to this Null invades the Earth, and it's going to be really bad and everything else, and the planet will be covered in black goo, and it will be terrible. But last year it was covered in plans. And the year before that, 2 years before that, Captain America had a fascist takeover of the planet. I mean, it just, at this point, who cares about black goo anymore? I mean,
I'm done with the symbiotes. I'm just done with it. I can't. How many times can you have an anti-venom and I don't know, anti-pesticide or whatever they're going to call them? Yeah, it's just sort of like, oh, really?
Don't give them ideas.
Yeah, just get up and be done.
Yeah. Or what month of the year are all of the Avengers going to be covered in a symbiote? Because I swear that's happened twice in the past 6 months.
Every year, and the absolute balls on the company to before King in Black is over, announce the Extreme Carnage symbiote event that's coming up in the late summer. Like, you have you're on.
Talk about spoiling it. Yeah, just by an announcement. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're enjoying the X-Men franchise and all that, and you're curious about how the vote is going to go for who's on the new X-Men team, don't read the spoilers over the next 2 weeks, because they are going to spoil it for you. I mean, I know they are. I promise. This isn't a guess. They are planning to put it in the solicitations. You will know who's on the team before the issue comes out.
Yeah, I know.
And cue the hashtags. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah,
just crazy.
Yeah.
But
so what videos have you got coming up, Perch? What have you got in the pipe ready? Can you spoil any or?
There's a ton. Let's see. I mean, I'm continuing to do some interviews. I've got some good people coming up. Again, from that same kind of time period. I'm just looking at what I have here. I've got the next week all scheduled out. I mean, we're talking about people want to know about blacklists. How do you get on them? What does that mean? If
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. How'd you get off them? That's what I need to know. How you get off.
Yeah, that's much trickier. Yeah. There's lots of things to talk about, costs and advice for careers. Just kind of different gimmicks that they've done over time. Just looking through this, it's a long list. There's, like I said, there's always
more sales chart analysis stuff coming up, or
yes, tons.
Good.
I've got people have been asking for Iceman. I'm not completely sure why, but I'm giving it to them.
Yeah,
so,
I can see why, and I'm not saying. But
I can see. Yeah, and that will be fascinating.
Yeah,
you're getting it. It's spoiler that the sales were low, but
yeah.
What I'm about I've got the sales analysis for My Hero Academia and some of the manga titles, and it's a very different picture.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, love to see that one.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. But yeah, people ask for things. The Dan Slott Spider-Man run's coming up here in about a week. So.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'd love to see a 2000 AD one from you, dude. I know the data probably is more difficult to find, but because obviously that's 40-something years old now. It'd be interesting to see peaks and troughs around that one. Yeah.
That one is going to be very hard to get the sales numbers on.
Yeah.
But I had a couple people ask, what is 2000 AD? I've never heard of it before. So I do have a video coming up here in the next 2 weeks just trying to give the history of it a bit.
Oh man, well, we can hook you up with a few of the creators from that, my friend. Yeah,
I should definitely take you up on that.
There's a fantastic documentary they did. What's the name?
Yeah.
Future Shock.
Future Shock. If you've seen that.
Great.
That is a brilliant documentary. And if you watch the extended version, our buddy Pat rants like a good one on that one.
By telling people to fuck off at the end of it.
Yeah,
genius.
Thanks.
Pat Phillips is wonderful. I love his interviews.
Yeah. But yeah, no, seriously, folks, people should check out Comics by Perch, because as you can tell, just from that list, there's going to be lots of cool stuff coming. And like our show, there's loads of different subjects and topics you can pick and choose, and longer form interviews, like topics and stuff. It's great. So, and I tell you what, we're going to have to get you on, periodically, just so we can we can tear apart the comics industry every 6 months.
I would love it.
Reshape it. That's important.
Yeah. This is the crossover that comics needs. What we're doing now.
Yes, I mean, my long-term plan is to just stop my channel and go on everybody else's channel, and I do less work. That's my plan.
Less work, less research, isn't it? It's much easier.
So, if people want to check out your work, etc., where can people find you online?
I think if you just search Comics by Perch at this point, you'll find me. I'm on all the social media networks and YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and Pandora and everywhere you want to go. If you at this point, I think the search works pretty well. So just search Comics by Perch and you'll find me.
So you've got like a podcast, which isn't every YouTube video, is it? But it's certain ones.
It isn't. It's anything longer. I hate the ads that they shove on with YouTube. If you don't use the ads, you get definitely deranked in the searches and people can't find you. But I don't. The ad money is nothing. So it's just an annoyance. So I try and put everything at least that's longer up on a podcast so people can enjoy it without it.
Man. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a great one with Paul Kupperberg, and you got the Jim Selleckert one as well, haven't you? And there's a few creators you get on, aren't there?
There are. I've done some conversations with Sean Gordon Murphy on.
They're my favourites, man. That was very revealing, really good. If anyone needs to go to that video first, I would suggest of yours, because he's a frank guy and he's a nice guy, isn't he?
He's very nice. Yeah, he's and he cares a lot about his customers. He wants it to be good for you as well for him, and the other guy I gotta. This channel would not be anywhere close to as successful if Joe Corallo, who's a writer-editor, he's a great guy, wonderful sarcasm, and
he always reminds me he's got a voice a bit like sort of old school radio. He just makes me laugh when he just throws himself into things. Brilliant. Yeah.
He's hilarious. So I owe him a lot, but I've had a lot of great help. It's definitely not a one-man show.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. So go forward, check it out, folks, and thanks very much, Perch. You've been a legend.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for having me on. I had a wonderful time.
There you go, folks. You maybe, just maybe, learn something. I know we certainly did.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yes. Be sure to check out the YouTube channel, because there's lots of.
Occasionally, it's always interesting. Yeah, he's always got something to say.
There's also some funny satirical stuff.
Oh, they're gold, man. I know we talked about it, but they just make me laugh.
Yeah.
sarcastic ones. Yeah,
yeah.
nice to see that. Yeah.
There will be a link in the show notes, etc., for you to go check that out.
Cool.
But now it's time for the shout-outs. What shout-outs do we have this week, gents?
So I go first,
You
because
go
mine
first,
is
T.
just like shameless self-promotion.
Go.
Tribute Press, thanks to everyone who signed up so far. That's been really kind of you. We're really, really pleased with the people who came in the first week. And we're getting loads of really good interaction.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so if you joined up the first day, you already got 5 pages, and you've had a page a day since. And at the weekends, we've been doing 4P does a craft video, and I do like a back issue collection, back bin diving video, and we're really pleased, man. I mean, we're never going to be millionaires, but it's great to get the comics out and get the chat going. So it's been really nice. Yeah, you go to patreon.com/tribute press, £1.49 a month for 20 odd pages plus 8 videos and a podcast. There you go. It's not bad.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks to Andrew Clemson for sending me through a copy of Space Bastard. I'm going to give that a read this week.
Yeah.
As we already said earlier, thanks to Strange Apparitions for sending me some amazing back issues that just have filled my weekend. Thanks to Ed Whiting for sending me Bigger Fish. Ed, I think Ed's on the kind of level with me with his technical ability, so we had a bit of trouble, which I didn't manage to advise him. I think he found someone else, but it came through today, and it looks great. So I'm looking forward to reading that one as well. There you go.
Oh, awesome. Dan.
Fantastic. I've got an Indiegogo comic, Skipped, Seeds of Power. Skipped is the part 1 of an epic 5-part saga, and it's set in a sci-fi crime genre. All parts can be read as standalone stories that connect into a saga format with an overarching story. All books are written and produced in a 48-page prestige comic graphic novel format, and that's by Florian Pfeiffer. And that's on Indiegogo now. You've got 38 days for that, and we'll put the link in the show notes for you to check out for yourselves. And do so.
Brilliant. Okay then, gents, what recommendations have we got to send these lovely listeners off this week? We're going to... There's almost a structure to the recommends this week.
There is.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, Dee?
Well, Tony is on the mailing list for Europe Comics for the show, and we got a lovely bunch of comics sent through, didn't we, Tony?
We did. It was a huge bunch, a lovely bunch of coconuts. It was a huge bunch of comics, wasn't it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, oh man, I love those emails coming in. You browse through and think, is this title going to be for me? Is that title for me? And I picked one out called Yo Jimbot, script by Sylvian Repos, art by the same Sylvian Repos. I don't want to read the synopsis that's on the Europe's comic site, because essentially it's almost a plot breakdown.
Yeah.
But essentially it's set in like a not too distant dystopian future Japan. I think it's good 1,000 odd years into the future, and we're introduced to this kind of like samurai style Westworld amusement park where these kind of clunky robots reenact like feudal Japan, where they're dueling with katana blades. They've got like the gear, but everything's kind of like overgrown and rotted and broken, and they keep living at this one robot you follow around keeps on living out this existence until one day he comes across a human child, and the story sort of unravels from there, and he ends up sort of like becoming, as the title suggests, a play on the Yojimbo. He becomes a bodyguard of sorts, and where these robots have got like a program they've been stuck to for millennia or centuries, his starts to not come undone, but facets of it start awakening that he needs to protect human life, and it kind of goes from there. Essentially, okay. It's like a setup for a series or the beginning of the adventure. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting intro, like, because it's kind of a wordless duel, isn't it? And it works so well.
Yeah. He has a clash with like another samurai, and because we're reading it digitally, we don't get the double page spread, like the glory of it. But
the title card is beautiful.
Yeah, the double page spread of these two samurai robots facing off one against one another, and you got the sky behind them, and then the Jimbot typeface font header between the two of them, and it's absolutely just it's lovely book. You weren't too mad on the manga style action, were you?
I loved the start of it, man. I absolutely loved it, and then it trailed off in what I was looking for. Towards the end, it became. I thought it was just going to be robots to start with, and I thought this is amazing. This is a great idea, and it kind of moves into more of a human realm, doesn't it? So
yeah, I think it could almost been wordless. This comic.
Yeah,
This,
so I think you said to me it's quite a quick read. You can read it quite quickly, and I started. And I thought, oh, is this all wordless? This is amazing. Because I really loved that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and then it became a bit more wordy, didn't it? As we went in.
Humans enter into it, which, to be honest, I find the robot stuff so much more interesting.
Yeah,
and I pointed this out to Andy Hanks today, saying like this comic seems like it was made made for you. These robot designs, the big bulky robots, and
definitely,
a bit worn down. The look of it is just his cup of tea. And if it had been more of that, I think I'd have gushed over it. Absolutely loved it. But I was sort of like, okay, yeah, I can see where this is going. I would recommend it more for kind of a younger reader. If I'm honest, I'm going to show it to my son tomorrow. I think he'll get a kick out of it because of obviously the manga stylings and.
I think it's a younger reader / sort of early teen, isn't it? Because there is
yeah.
There is some nice limb chopping.
Yeah. But
Which,
if you kind of reading manga,
yeah, oh god,
you're going to dip down.
It's all over the shop anyway.
Stuff. And to be fair, none of it's gratuitous. It's always
Some of the pages have got a real energy, man.
Yeah. But and again, it's a lovely color palette. The artist just really enjoy it. It goes for that kind of the manga and anime kind of blur lines and drawing the movement as opposed to kind of the more Western still images of people moving. But if that's your cup of tea, I think you're really going to enjoy this. It's not out yet. You have to pre-order it. And it's going at a decent price. So
I think it's pre-order. You can pre-order it, or it's coming soon to Comixology.
Yes.
Certainly, mine is out on the 21st of this month, so it's not long to go. Yeah.
It feels like it's sort of heading in. I mean, I know nothing about where the story's going, of course, but and this is going to be a strange combination of thoughts in my head here. But that sort of Terminator 2 meets Lone Wolf and Cub. That kind of there's something going in that direction, I think.
Where like the Mandalorian drew heavily on Lone Wolf and Cub. Imagine this moving over a future world that's kind of fallen into ruin with this malfunctioning samurai robot, which is just he's an absolute beast in combat.
Yeah,
the child. Yeah. Where it's sort of a setup. So where's this going to go? It's an interesting premise. We'll have to see where it does go.
Yeah.
Nice one, man. It's good to see a bit more Europe Comics love. Always love them.
Yeah.
All those titles they sent through, fucking hell.
Gold, aren't they? And all different as well.
Yeah. Not all of them for me.
Yeah,
but
same
I could look at them and just see the workmanship and the craft.
So much beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
My recommend this week is a Marvel book that I picked up. This is a real sort of like, I wonder how well this works as a comic.
Yeah.
And I picked up because I was intrigued to see how this was going to work. It being a Marvel book as well. I picked up the first issue, Warhammer 40,000, Marnius Calgar, issue 1 of 5.
Okay, because this is a recent IP for them, isn't it?
Yeah. This is written by Kieran Gillen, art by Jason Burrows. I do not have the other. Let's have a look. I don't want to shortchange any other creators on it. Colorist Yava Tartaglia, letterer VC's Clayton Cowles, and it's a beautiful looking book. So I feel the need that all of these sort of creators need to be mentioned because I think colour works is so important with things like this. Now I was fascinated because Warhammer 40,000 is such an IP, such a franchise with such a rich and, let's be honest, heavy and massive world and universe behind it. Obviously for the tabletop gamers, but never mind that. If you in a bookshop and you see a Warhammer 40,000 novel, probably written by Abnett, Dan Abnett,
he wrote a load of the novels, didn't he?
And you could kill a person with those novels. They're massive, and it's all. Of course, they're all pretty dark and gritty, and if you've seen video games or you've seen like some amazing animated videos, you know the world of the Space Marines and what they look like. It's such an iconic look that as soon as you see it, you know what this is. I was fascinated to see how it would transcend into a sort of into a Marvel style book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when it comes to these sort of franchises, I mean, I love the idea of them. I don't know much about them as
Oh,
such.
mate,
But
I had to go through this period with
Yeah.
my son. I've told you this earlier.
Yeah.
So he got into it, and you may as well just go and hand over your mortgage to the shop.
It's this open wallet surgery. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really have too much interest in the game, but the lore and the story I find really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of
And-
people say that. A lot of people read the novels but don't paint the figures, do they? I think.
yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
like certainly, I've watched videos of people painting the figures and like because they're pretty chill, and the work that people do on them is absolutely
it's
astounding.
amazing. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
amazing
yeah.
stuff.
Well,
It
I
goes
used
back
to-
to that. Go on.
He used to take me into the shop, so I used to have to go in the shop with him, and we'd go in there, and they'd go, "Hi, what kind of soldier are you?" And I'm like, "I'll wait for you outside." son."
I tell you what, I will say Games Workshop is the one shop that the people that come up to you have put me off going into that shop.
Yeah,
I
the
always
same
want,
with me.
I always
Yeah.
want to go into that shop because it looks really cool. But I know as soon as I walk in, they were like, "Hi there," and just like get in your face and like, "No, I just want to browse.
Don't do this. Yeah.
This is all beautiful stuff. I just want to browse. Please let me browse."
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Should be the universal "I'm all right, mate," and then that's the code for "Leave me alone."
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all right, mate.
Yeah. But I do love like the worlds and universes that they've built up. It's so there's so much, and the people that are into it know exactly. This is clearly for people that know this sort of universe. But I was fascinated to see that for someone who isn't as entrenched, what sort of story did we get? Is it something that I can pick up and read?
Yeah.
It fucking well is.
Oh, that's good.
Nice one.
And it's really good. It is really good, actually. It's very much a lot of the Warhammer 40,000 is very much war stories. It is it's entrenched in that sort of ongoing battles and war, and if you know a little bit about the space, I think sometimes you need to have a basic understanding of.
Well, it's like the 41st
world.
century, isn't it? And there's
Yeah.
essentially the story's engineered that there's only war to kind of like prop up the game system, where it's just war battles, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I know there's some Warhammer fans that fucking screaming at their listening device now, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah. But
limited descriptive abilities here.
Exactly, but why I think this works for people. This is a nice little gateway, I think, as well. I mean, for those who don't know, it's basically in the grim darkness of the far future there is only war, which probably isn't that far away, and this is basically all about Marnius Calgar, the legendary chapter master of the Ultramarines, as he leads his elite space marines against humanity's greatest threats in the galaxy, engulfed in endless war. There's a lot more to the story, but I think you could quite easily jump in. I've read the first issue. I've immediately put the trade on my wish list to get,
wow,
because
okay.
I just want to read it.
You was a fan.
Yeah, I was a fan of it because it's got a real nice. I'm a sucker for some nice cinematic dialogue or things like this, and the book literally starts with a huge gun firing this bolt through the air, and I will read the narration because as soon as I read the last bit, I thought, "Fuck me, I love this book." And there's three panels. There's three sort of wide panels of this gun being fired, the bullet passing through the air, and then it literally blowing a body in half. And the narration is: the bolt thrusts itself from the muzzle with the smaller charge, as if it were but a lesser weapon. When in the air, it shows its caliber. Its own propulsion bursts into life. It accelerates. Its diamantine tip would punch through ceramite plate. And then the final panel of the body being blown apart. The machine spirit pauses, giving a moment to burrow inside. It detonates. A heretic dies. And then we see a fucking splash page of the main character mowing down lots of people, and the narration is just, "We repeat." And I was like, "Oh yes!"
Sorry, who was the writer on this?
This is Kieran Gillen.
I wondered why they didn't get Abnett, for this. It seems a weird choice, isn't it?
Yeah, is it? I mean, probably. I mean, this is probably a character, as Dan said. There's probably lots of people screaming at their iPods, going, "Don't you know who this character is?" Because it's clearly one with a bit of a history. But what I love about it, there's kind of you can tell what sort of character he is. It's the grizzled war veteran. He's clearly like the hardest case of them all, and we're seeing a little bit of his backstory. And like, there's a bigger battles going on. It's really well written. It's not too, because I know sometimes with the Warhammer stuff, the dialogue and description can be so it's so literate's the wrong word, but it's big words, it's heavy words. It's like someone talking from a cathedral in the fucking 1700s sometimes when you're reading some of the dialogue. But this is easy to follow, and I got to say, there are maps, and it stops every so often when it gets to a certain point. It shows you maps and little facts and stuff. So if you want to get caught, so you're aware of where you are in the world.
Okay.
But Jason Burrows, man. I mean, I've always considered Jason Burrows to be kind of like a
Avatar artist.
Yeah, an avatar artist that is capable of, I mean, he's done some stunning work. If you could, he also is known usually for quite his graphic and gory and over the top stuff. He's not afraid of doing things like this. I mean, after all, he was the artist on the infamous Neonomicon. Book.
Yeah. And Scars, I think we were on this, which is a great book.
Yeah. He started Crossed as well, I think, didn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
He's done stuff with Marvel before, didn't he? He did that Wolverine series, and he's done a couple of things.
I think he's done a Punisher series as well, I think.
Oh, of course he has. Yeah.
But the work he's doing on this book, and the work that the sort of art team and colours as well, is absolutely fucking stunning. Anyone who knows those sort of designs of the Space Marines and stuff, that is a scary thing to draw over and over again. Because you get and also with this sort of IP, you get the details wrong, someone's probably going to say something about it.
Yeah, someone will notice.
You've got to get it on point, and to do that over and over, as well as having huge, like, we're talking double-page spreads of battlefields of death, destruction, giant mechs, legions of fucking soldiers, and it just looks absolutely stunning. From page 1 to the end is absolutely fantastic. I think it's only a 5-issue series, this one, so not
okay.
When I get the book, it'll be one and done. But yeah, I loved it. I was a bit sort of nervous about what it was going to be like, but I chewed through it. Absolutely chewed through it. Love it. So yeah, Warhammer 40,000, Marneus Calgar. This may have gone under some people's radar, even the people that like Warhammer 40,000. I don't know how much. This came out in 2020. In October. I don't know how much marketing was done for it, but
I remember it being, but I think it hit like issue 3. Didn't issue 3 hit the pause when we first got the? I know, didn't. I'm not sure if it's had a great run. Is it finished yet? I don't know.
It has. I mean, you can buy all 5 issues.
You can
on Comixology.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that. Yeah, and I'd pay attention to it every day. So yeah,
you can buy the collection on Comixology, but I want the print book. Which isn't available to the end of April, so you can pre-order it.
Oh, not long to wait.
Yeah, not long now, but you can pre-order it now. But well worth it. I think this is Jason. I've seen Jason Burrows in a whole new light, and it's like, wow, I kind of want him to do, sign me on for more stuff like this if he's going to work like this. So yeah, great stuff. I really enjoyed this one. So I'll probably post some. I haven't done it in a while, but I'll probably post some stuff on the Comics Talk group.
Yeah, we posted some last week, didn't we? Of like the covers we were talking about and stuff. I think that's good the way we do that. Yeah.
So that's mine, Tony.
Good. Can American comics and English comics? Can you hear that? That's your mum calling. Because this puts you to shame, my friends. Yeah, another fucking amazing book, and there seems to be more westerns coming out of bande dessinée than there seems to be coming out of America sometimes. Do you know what I mean? I've just screen shared with you one of the pages there, dudes, just so you can see. Yeah. So this is
nice.
Thanks to KN firstly for sending through. She's now I think she's the new Arena, as I like to call her. Although we still speak to Arena, she's great, but I think she's taken over the publicity bit. It's The Tiger Awakens, 62 pages. The actual release is the 21st of April, so this is a pre-release we got. Script is by Serge Letendre, art by Oliver Tadouk, translation by our old buddy Edward Gauvin. In France, it was published by Dupuis, and it's published by Europe Comics here. It's $4.99 in euros. I'm not sure what it's going to be on Comixology, actually. You have to check. It's worth checking Comixology sales for Europe Comics. They seem to always have something on the go, don't they?
That was how we discovered them way back in the day, I think.
That's true. Yeah. Now, this takes place 20 years after the end of the previous 8-volume series called The Chinaman. I'm not sure if you've seen that, guys.
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
I've read it. It's amazing. Same creative team. And it follows the adventures of the man who's called, alternatively, John Chinaman, or Chen Long, through the old American West. And I read them a few years ago. They're outstanding. There's eight volumes. They're all still available on Comixology. But the thing is, you don't need to have read them to enjoy this.
Okay.
There is a definite. The only comparison I'd make to mainstream comics is there's a definite Old Man Logan on this. There's a definite old warrior, just incredible warrior who's just fallen on hard times. The cover's a strange one actually. It kind of gives you. It almost gives it makes it look more modern somehow to me. I'm going to just screen share, but it's the character looking up, and if you look at the back there's sort of burning oil rigs or something like that.
Yeah, not mad on that cover, I've got to say.
And it looks like it's modern because it looks like he's almost got a leather jacket on at first glance, you know. But he definitely looks like.
I quite like that cover.
I like the face, man. He looks like.
I would say I like the cover. I'm not sure that the way the text is done on it does anything for it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, it's a little bit plain, but it's quite striking. I would say if you saw that on a digital shelf, it would, you'd get it, you'd see it. So it opens in California near the town of Malacopa, and a couple of Pinkertons have been called down to the body of a woman who looks like she's been sexually assaulted and murdered, and she's lying there. This is 15 plus. There's a lot of violence. There's some sexual violence in it and that sort of thing. It switches to the town of Idlewild, and the man is looking for Chen Long, and he finds him in an alley unconscious, and he's just walked out of an opium den, and that is John Chinaman, Chen Long, and kids are throwing stones at him, and this is his best friend, a guy called Marcus, who's a black dude, and the kids give him a bit of racial abuse and leg it off, and he puts him in his car and takes him back to his house and sobers him up. And on the way, he says to him, "You're eaten up by regret. Pull yourself together." And Chenlong says, "I'm already dead, my friend." So he's got this is over for him. It's the wilderness years. He's just he's a lost soul to opium at this point. We then have another episode where he goes back on the gear. He gets back into the drugs, and it turns out there's a small group of men who are kidnapping women, and one of them manages to escape during a rape attempt on her, and legs it through the woods and comes across Marcus, who's pulling his mate back again in his car home, having found him again. And the Chinaman, John Chinaman, Chenlong, is asleep in the back. And he wakes up as Marcus is being killed. So this gang chase the girl, and they find them and kill them. And they also, the bastards, kill the dog as well, which is, I hate that. Yeah, nobody warned me. And the Pinkertons turn up, and he joins with them to find out what's going. And they refer to him as the Celestial, which is something of a horrible term back then. But and they know he's on the opium. And it turns out one of the Pinkertons is his son. He never knew he had. This is a sort of big theme in it, really. And it just explodes, man. There's that scene I first showed you with him jumping down with these two swords, and look at that. So incredible.
Yeah, that's
the
nice.
art. It's a little bit Jean Giraud, maybe from the Blueberry days. It's a little bit Ralph Meyer, who did The Undertaker as well, which we've talked about before. Is incredible line work, and a little bit John Severin as well. John did quite a lot of the Marvel Western stuff, and he did a couple of the associated Hellboy books. I'm just absolutely blown away from it. It's the area. When everyone says Westerns, everyone thinks, in England, they think, it's John Wayne. It's going to be very sort of vanilla, very boring, very set pieces, but this is more veers towards spaghetti westerns and the likes of Unforgiven, where it's just dog eat dog, you're gonna die, just violent, stoic men whose life can be ended at like Deadwood, maybe, I suppose, is another great example of that. It's got some Croydon, yeah, very true. Yeah. It explodes at the end. It just takes off. It's just the most amazing scenes, and because it's bande dessinée, there's multiple panels per page, and there's no slacking here at all. There's no slacking whatsoever on the part of anyone, and he gets faces as well. Oliver Tadouk is a French guy. He's from a Vietnamese family origins. He started studying off medicine, gave up medicine to be a comic artist. What did you do? He's an often collaborator with Latendre, and they worked on White Claw together, which is another book we've seen. And he produces one of these volumes every year. And that's good, isn't it?
That is great.
Yeah. Sergio Latendre he's written for Metal Hurlant, Pilote, Fluide Glacial, and many more. He created Chinaman, which was originally published by Humanoids, and then went over to Dupuis, which I think is a Belgian publisher. And Europe Comics began publishing Chinaman in English language online in 2017. He's also did White Claw, and he did the Blayberg project, which was at Dargard, which I think I've seen, but I haven't read. I might pick up now. There's a lot of themes going on in this book. There's a lot of really, really clever interactions. You can just look on that page there, just the standoff between the Chinaman's son and the gang. It's just so clever. Just there's tense interactions. It covers duty and it covers friendship and it does cover race. It also covers PTSD because he gets flashbacks to the Civil War and he can't escape the flashbacks. And it's about a damaged hero, and it's just very, very clever. And I think there's one more volume. I think it says on the cover 1 of 2, so I'm guessing there's another one coming. To be concluded in book 2. There you go, at the end of the last page. But even that last panel, look at that.
That's great.
It's just, you'd be pleased with that as a double page spread in an American comic, wouldn't you? And it's a third of a page. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I'm in love with this. I'm going to order the French copy just so I can have a physical copy. Somebody needs to snap this up straight away and put it out. But the Tiger Awakens from Europe Comics, there you go, it's mine.
Beautiful.
Nice one, T. Yeah, sounds
absolutely
great.
Fantastic books for you all to check out this week, and we hope you enjoyed this week's episode as well. We had a lot of fun doing it. And more stuff like this.
We're looking forward to this one, aren't we? Because we've been waiting for Perch for a month or so. Yeah.
And we're deadly serious. You might see another episode in the future.
Yep.
With us, seeing how the industry and its peaks and troughs are going, and but he's a like-minded soul. We just want the best for the comics industry,
exactly,
comics in general.
Yep.
So if there's anything you want us to discuss on future shows, or if there's anything we talked about, or maybe I just messed up someone's name pronunciation. That's normally what happens. There's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @theawesomepod, where occasionally we'll post out threads that just take off. If you're Dan Butcher, sometimes we do questions, polls, we retweet stuff, and sometimes we let you know who the next guest is going to be to get you all excited. If you do the Book of Faces, though, go to facebook.com/awesomecomicspodcast, and please join the group Awesome Comics Talk. There's a wonderful group of people on there talking positively about comics, no hard selling, all kinds of different discussions from art. There's art threads. There's people asking for advice for their comics projects, and so on and so on. It's a great group of people on there. So
we've hit the point now where people are sort of cunningly posting their Kickstarters. I've seen this twice this week, where people go, "Oh, look at the art on this! Isn't this incredible?" And you have to read down. Oh, by the way, this is available on Kickstarter. I saw you. I saw you.
Yep. We're always watching. So just watch yourselves. But thank you for listening to us, whether you're on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave a review. It helps get the word out about the show, and just more fantastic comics folk that we talk to. If you listen to us on any networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what other networks are we on, Tony?
Well, there's a podcast network that's dedicated to French conventions, and this is the pod. It's Pod Anal M, the French convention.
Oh, nice. We'll have to.
Is that one you've been to, Dan? Have you ever been to Anal M?
You ever been?
Beanbag heavy, I tell you.
Is it? Well, that sounds quite comfortable.
Not a lot of sitting down. Yeah,
I love a beanbag.
Yeah, I bet you do. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And before we go, right, guys, I just want to pitch you an idea.
Oh, good.
Right.
Oh,
like
yes.
this.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Is this the thing you're working on at the moment?
Yeah. I mean,
throwing around a few ideas.
Yeah, we're throwing around some ideas, and obviously you sent some artwork, which kind of inspired me. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm going to steal from the pages of Badger, but there was something that just truly inspired me. Is there any place in the comics book industry, or is there a spot for a series about like a human-sized beaver?
Sounds good. I like that.
Not a humanoid beaver, an actual giant beaver, basically teaming up with one of those old school sort of like jewel thieves. What was that French one with the mask and what's the one I'm thinking of?
Diabolique.
Yeah, something like that. Looking like that.
Yeah.
And it's an adventure story, and it's a buddy comedy, and it's basically their adventures. And basically Beaver and Snatch. That's what I'm thinking.
Sounds brilliant. I think that's a great idea.
Sells itself. Writes itself.
I love beavers and I love Snatch. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
Just get that done.
I mean, the idea is so strong. I think should we do?
Yeah.
Merch? Shall I start thinking about merch?
I'm thinking T-shirts. I'm thinking Merkins. I think we could go anywhere with that.
Nice.
We do the old live pitch to Pat again, like we did with Vince and the cat, aren't we?
No, you are not stitching me up
I'm
again.
emailing him now.
Off the wall comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for future episodes, folks. Where occasionally we might picture like a character, like a story arc of this series. We'll see how we get on.
Yeah.
But while we're going to our drawing boards to figure that out, have a brilliant week, everyone. Where can people find us online, etc., Tony?
Neveronanything.com.
Daniel?
What about the
Hang on.
Patreon, Tony?
Patreon.com/tribute press.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
Guys.
Dan?
You can find me on Twitter at Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com.
There you go. And you should.
Stuff.
And you can
Thank
find
you.
me. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Jester Diablo. Thank you very much for listening. Have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics. Check out the videos of comics by Perch. And yeah, just stay safe, stay healthy, stay fruity. I don't know what that means. But no matter what you do, you should always have a great week. And what else should they do, guys?
Stay awesome.
And get
Oh
snappy.
yes!
And snatch.
Beaver and Snatch. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
There you go, folks. How was that, eh?
Great
Hopefully
stuff.
it was good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yet to do it, so.
Oh, I knew he'd let you down.
Yeah, we're doing it again.
No.
We're doing it
come on.
again. I'm not having that. You absolute.
Go.
Breathes on his hand first.
Jesus
Spits on my
Christ.
hand. Spits on my hand. What?
Ugh. Have you got hot spit? There's the first art for Beaver and Snatch.
Beaver and Snatch. Beaver and Snatch 2, hot spit.
Yes!